Welcome to this Q&A for Little Girl, which is the opening selection of this year's Rendezvous with French Cinema. I'm really pleased that we are opening the selection with this film. It is the first time in the history of the festival that we're opening with a documentary. I'm very pleased it's this one. I think it's a wonderful film, and its director, Sébastien Lifshitz, I think is one of the most important and most interesting documentary filmmakers working today. So thank you for joining us, Sébastien, and thank you for your film.
Thank you very much. Hello, and hello to New York. I mean, I would like to be there, with everybody, but okay, we have to stay home like every country is.
For now, we'll have you with us for the next one, hopefully. I think I'm just going to start by asking you how the film came about, whether it was from finding this family, whether it was from finding Sasha, or did you start with the idea of wanting to make a film about a trans child?
No, the idea of the film came with a conversation that I had with Bambi. Bambi was one of the first French transgender women. She was born in 1935, and I did a portrait of her many years ago. And she's an amazing person. And I remember during a conversation with her, I was asking her, when did she felt that she was a woman? And if there was a moment, a start, with this discover of her identity. And she said to me, no, there was no start or anything like this. I always felt that I was a woman since I was a little kid, And then I realized that because for me, to be a transgender person was happening during the puberty or the adolescency, coming with the beginning of the sexuality. And I was totally wrong with all this, because it has nothing to do, of course, with sexuality. And so she said to me that, no, that since she was born, I mean, as long as she can remember, she always felt that she was a little girl than a woman. And so I said to myself that it could be very interesting to make the portrait of a young kid of today, has a young trans kid, and just to see her daily life during a year, and to see the relation with the family, with the school, and with the outside world, and to see how it goes. How is it to be a trans kid today? Is it okay? Is it possible? Is it tough? I was really curious about that. Mm-hmm. And then, okay, as soon as I got the idea, I talked about it with my producer, and she said, I mean, great, okay, let's do it. The thing is, how can we find a trans kid, It's not so easy, and then we have found that on internet there was a kind of forum where parents are exchanging information, parents who has a trans kid, because in France there is no institution, there is quite like no place where you can ask question or ask for some help, and because most of the parents are totally lost, in this kind of situation. They don't know how to deal with it, and of course they have a lot of questions. And so this forum for them is very important because they can exchange some information and they can speak about their experience, but basically this is quite the only thing that you can find, and so we have decided to put an annonce in this forum that we were looking for a family who has a trans kid to do a documentary. And then two mothers answered me, one from Canada, saying that Canada was a kind of paradise for trans people, that the society was so open-minded, and that there was quite no problem, for trans kids to grow there. And I was very amazed and happy, for them. But the thing is, I was looking for a French family, so I had to decline the invitation. And then at the same moment, the mother of Sasha sent me an email telling me that she was interested by my proposition, but she was very careful, because she wanted to know exactly my intention and the person I was and what I did before as a filmmaker. And then she agreed to meet me, only me and her. And that first meeting was very important because that was really for me the beginning of the process of the film. I remember that Karine was very, like she's exactly in the film, very intense, very emotional, really very sincere. And I really liked her at first sight. She's so true. But also she was, I remember, a little bit lost because she was exhausted with the battle with the school already that was happening months ago. And for the first time, she had someone in front of her that was not judging her, that was, I think, much comprehensive. I was really into her. I really understood what she was dealing with, and I think there was, something happened there. We had a kind of connection, a good connection. And so she said to me, okay, next time you come, I will introduce you to the whole family and to Sasha.
So when Karine asked you what your intentions were, what did you tell her?
Well, that my intention was to make the portrait of the daily life of a trans kid for a year, and to see her life, the good and the bad things. All the difficulties that I was guessing, and just to make people understand what is to be a trans person, and at this so young age, because most of the people, like I was, think that trans identity appears most of the time in older age, and which isn't true. Most of the time it happens, very young, depending also on the family you have, because I think if a kid feel that if the family is tolerant, if there is a kind of place for words, and for a kind of confession, I think the kids feel that is safe. He's safe to talk. He's safe to be free to say what he feels or what she feels inside, and which is not the case, of course, with all of the kids. Because Sasha is, in a way, very lucky to have such a family. They are very tolerant, very comprehensive. They really love her and they protect her so much. But I know that a lot of family who has a trans kid are not so tolerant. Sometimes you have the father or the mother who can't stand it, and for who it's so difficult just to admit this situation.
Yeah. So the idea was always to follow them for a period of 1 year. And I'm wondering how much of that time did you spend with them? How much of the time did you spend shooting? Was there a time where you just, did you start shooting right away, or was there a process of, getting to know the family and sort of setting the rules and the boundaries before you actually come in with a crew?
Well, in that case, what happened is that the situation was, the school was very tense, very difficult. And I thought that I wanted to wait, but then I've realized that the situation was so complicated, difficult, and it was a part of the story. And so I realized that I had to shoot very, very early, in a way, as soon as I could. So I said to them that I proposed to make a test to make that we can shoot for a day, just to see if the presence of the camera and a crew was okay with them, if the experience could be possible for, I mean, for the kids and also the parents. And they said, okay, sure, let's just give it a try, you know. And so this is what we did. And the first day was really magical. There was, I don't know, a kind of, it was very emotional, very simple. Me and my crew, we were accepted immediately by the family, because my goal was to make a film as close as I could to the family and to Sasha. I didn't want, you know, to look at them in a distant way, to have this kind of clinical approach. I didn't want to be objective. I really wanted to be with Sasha, with the family, you know, just to make people understand their emotion, their inner life. You know, for me, that was really important. I mean, the title of the film is Little Girl. So for me, Sasha is a little girl. She's saying to me, I'm a little girl. And I said, sure, honey, of course you're a little girl. And you know, and I'm going to do the film, and I'm going to, you know, to make people understand who you are, you know?
Yeah.
And so, and I think probably because of all this, with my empathy, they really felt that they could trust me, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, you mentioned the situation with the school, which obviously sort of dominates their life during this period, and yet we never actually see Sasha in school, and we're never actually brought to the school. And I think that's actually, I assume that's because the school wouldn't allow you to shoot there, but that actually becomes, I think, quite an effective, like off-screen, you know, presence, absence that's always like hovering in the film.
Well, the thing, what happened exactly with the school is, of course, I've asked them if I could shoot there, you know, because for me, the daily life of Sasha at school was something very interesting to observe. Sure. And from the beginning, the school refused immediately my proposition. And I mean, before the film, the family had already a kind of very difficult relation with the school, and the existence of the film, I think, didn't really arranger. It didn't help, you know, the situation, because they felt that for the first time the family had a kind of ally, you know, with them. And because they were really fighting against, you know, the revendication of the family and the revendication of Sasha. So I mean, I tried many times to ask them if something was possible, and but they said no. And more than this, they sent us a letter from their lawyer saying that if any picture of the school appear in the film, or any mention of the name, of the address, or anything related to the school, then they will sue us, you know. So the school was really against, you know, against the film, against the position of the family. No, they were really a kind of enemy, you know, a real enemy.
You talked a little bit about just, you know, wanting to create this sort of intimacy, I think which the film really achieves in quite remarkable ways. There are so many scenes that are really intimate, really emotional, and I'm wondering if there were specific things besides the rapport that you cultivated with Sasha, with the family, were there specific things that you did to allow those, you know, to allow those characteristics to emerge? Was it about, like, you know, figuring out where to be in a scene, or figuring out when to shoot or when not to shoot? I mean, you know, some of these scenes are very intense, as you say.
No, I think it's really, I don't know, it's well, I remember that one day I asked to Sasha if I could go to her room and film her playing with her toys in her room. I knew that my demand was quite special because the room of Sasha is a kind of sacred room. She never invited anybody there, you know, because her room is full of toys for girls. which is a secret, you know, for her. And then after a few minutes, she said to me, well, I think, okay, you can come. And so we went there with a camera. And after a few minutes, when the camera was ready to film, she just sat in front of me, in front of the camera on her bed. And she didn't move. And I said, don't you want to play with your toys? And she said, well, no, because you're there. Normally I'm alone when I'm playing. And I said, yes, of course I know, but you know, I have to make a film with about you and you know your daily life, what you're doing like every day. Just act like if I'm not there. And she said, no, because you're there. And it was funny because for me that answer was really special because it was a way for her, I think, to tell me that she didn't want to play or to act, you know, in front of the camera. She didn't want to produce something for the camera. If I had to get something for the film, it has to be in the moment, you know, but not something that she had to invent or to play for the camera, which I think was a very good answer and a very good position, you know, for such a kid, you know. And so for me, that was um, the a kind of frame in a way, an attitude that she had, what was really amazing and very mature, I think, and very true.
Yeah.
And I remember there was another moment where, which is in the film actually, she's lying on her bed playing with her body. She puts her head upside down, and you could see into the shot that first she's not looking at the camera because she didn't knew that we were shooting at that time. And then after maybe 1 minute, she realized that the camera is on. And so she looked into the camera. She didn't say any word, nothing, but just this movement of her eyes going into the camera, saying, I know you're filming, and that's fine. I'm okay with it. It's for me also an attitude very mature, just to say, I know what's going on, you know, and I allow you to do it, you know. And basically with Sasha, it was all the time like this, you know, when she didn't want to do something and she wouldn't do it, you know. And I always shot everything that was possible because they wanted to, you know, to be filmed, you know, during these moments. And voila.
Yeah. You mentioned that you know this this.
My English, okay? My
Oh, your
English,
English is excellent. Thank you.
okay.
You mentioned that your you know this project in a way started from conversations you had with Bambi, but I think even before that you had made a fiction film, Wild Side, which suggested your interest in trans lives and trans identity goes further back. So I'm wondering if there was an earlier starting point in your interest in these issues, in these lives.
Well, I think I'm always interested in the construction of a person, you know. For me, you are becoming someone with time, you know, little by little. And I don't know, I'm quite obsessed with this kind of, just to observe this construction of a human being. So trans identity for me is something very important and interesting in that regards, you know, that because you have to build yourself most of the time against the whole world, you know, because it's still quite difficult when you are a trans person to be accepted for who you are. And yes, it's in a way it's a reflection of where the society is, what, you know, the morality, the values, and the tolerance or the intolerance. And it's a reflection of all of this, you know. And for me, trans people are the most bravest person ever. And since, I don't know, since I'm I think young, I'm really into this question of sexual identity and gender identity. most of my films are about this, you know, and observing the transformation of the society through this kind of theme, and they are, yeah, for me they are very much important. I'm also collecting pictures, snapshots, you know, pictures
Right.
for many years. I did some exhibition and books about it, and I have a collection of cross-dressers people, men and women, since the 19th century until today. And you could see that this question is not a question of today. It's, you know, it's a, there is a past, a long past, with all these questions of identity.
Right.
And I think it's very interesting through this collection of pictures that you can understand that since centuries, you know, this question of identity are present, you know. Some people say to you, oh, this is transgender person and trans identity as something of today, but I disagree. It's not. It, it
Yeah.
appears many, yeah, since I think probably the mankind exists, probably.
Yeah. The yeah, you mentioned this theme of gender identity and sexual identity running through your films. I think the other striking thing, especially if you look at maybe the documentaries of the last 10 years, is you seem to be drawn to like either end of the life spectrum. I mean, you've made films about older characters, you know, the Invisibles and Bambi and Therese, and then you have these films like Adolescents and Little Girl about young people. I mean, so I'm wondering, do you think there's something about a focus on youth or a focus on age that is revealing that somehow, you know, because I think in some ways they are mysterious, you know, I think, or they're not often represented to the degree that you try to capture them. We most films are dominated by people who are in, you know, adults, middle age.
Well, the thing is, to be sincere, is when you look at the incarnation of gay characters or trans character in the cinema, there is not so many films every year. There is very few, actually, compared to the others, you know, with straight characters. And so for me, there is so much to tell. There is so much beautiful persons and characters, gay characters, trans characters. The field is so big, you know, and there is so many things to tell, you know, about all these people. And for me, it's a chance, you know, just to have this kind of privilege to meet all these people and to tell a story. And even if they are, I mean, sometimes they are young, sometimes they're old, sometimes it could be a middle-aged person. I don't care. If for me there is something, if the character and the life of that person is really special and needs to be told, you know, I'm in, you know, I'm interested. Because for me, there is, when you look at the cinema in general, most of the stories are, I mean, archetypes, you know, you know so much about these straight characters, and sometimes you can make a very good film with this kind of person, of course. But for me, regarding, you know, gay and trans characters, we are at the beginning of something. You know, there is so much still to do and to tell about all these people that has existed in the past and people of today. I'm sorry. Sometimes my thought is difficult to say in English, you know, to be precise and profound.
Oh no, I think it's coming across very clearly. Yeah.
Okay.
I wanted to, you know, to ask you about this. How representative do you think, you know, that you see this very accepting progressive family in the film, and then you see this this, school that is, I think, really very much the opposite of that. And I'm wondering how, to what extent do you think this film kind of reflects the conversation in France about trans people, like the degree of acceptance, the degree of understanding? Do you think that, this is what it is in France, that we have, that both sides are very much in evidence, that institutions are still quite backwards in terms of being able to accept?
I think the situation in France is still difficult, and there is no institution where you can go and ask for some help. Most of the people are totally lost with this kind of trans situation. Most of the parents are really left alone in a way. So it's really difficult. And also at schools, it depends. You can't make any generalities saying that all the schools are intolerant or don't accept. It depends. It really depends on the director of the school, which has a lot of power. It depends on the teachers. I don't know, the context of the school where it is, and the thing in France, you have this, we are a laic country, but you could feel that in the tradition, the presence of the religion.
Yeah.
Even if it's not there, it's in the culture. And probably that counts. People, probably because of ignorance and question also of morality, and sometimes they can't help it. They judge you. They're just afraid of what people could think if you could accept this family, this kid, or whatever. And sometimes it's so stupid as this, but most of the time it's a question of ignorance.
Yeah.
Teachers, directors of school, they have no formation at all about what is a trans person, especially for a very young kid. It's really new.
Yeah. I think we're almost at the end of our time, but I just wanted to ask one last question, which is what was the family's reaction? What was Sasha's reaction in particular to the film? And I mean, you shot the film a few years ago. I'm wondering if you have kept up with them, and how do things stand with Sasha and the family?
Of course, I'm still in contact with them. With all the people I'm filming. Actually, I love all these people. They are really important people into my life. So I'm always in contact with them. And with the family of Sasha, well, first of all, Sasha, she's doing great. She's 10 years old. She's in a new school, and she's really happy in that school. She's totally accepted as a little girl, so which is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And when she saw the film, I remember she was coming out of the theater and looking at me, and she was, I think, happy but exhausted.
Sure.
Probably because she's been through again all this emotion that you could see in the film, and I remember she was like tired. She just wanted to go to bed in a way, just like that. And but then after 2 or 3 days we spoke, and she said to me that she was proud.
That's great. It's good to hear. Well, thank you so much, Sébastien, for the film. Again, I'm sorry we couldn't all be together in New York, but it's a really special film, and we're very proud to be showing it. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.